Hi everyone, welcome to J&B Talk F1. Jawad Yakub as always, and unfortunately Baden Westerwella won't be joining us tonight due to technical difficulties, so we're just going to have to run solo for this one, and it's the Japanese Grand Prix race day preview. I'll keep it nice and short. Obviously without his input it's not going to be as great, but the show must go on nevertheless. And a 10th front row lockout for the Mercedes AMG squad for the Japanese Grand Prix, but it wasn't Lewis Hamilton who claimed pole position. It was his teammate Nico Rosberg claiming his second pole of the season. Rosberg looking more comfortable than his teammate for the entirety of the weekend so far, but we'll see how he goes in the race. Behind them was the Williams of Valtteri Bottas, who rather surprised us by qualifying third ahead of the Ferraris, Sebastian Vettel fourth, Felipe Massa in the sister Williams fifth, Kimi Raikkonen sixth as well. Not happy at all during qualifying after showing good speed in Q1 and Q2. Raikkonen only qualified in sixth. We find Daniel Ricciardo in the Red Bull seventh, fastest Roman Grosjean eighth, Sergio Perez ninth, and Danny Kvyat, who I'll discuss a bit more in depth in a second. 10th fastest, didn't end up setting a time in Q3 as did Perez. Nico Hulkenberg found himself in 11th position for the third consecutive race, but Hulkenberg will be taking a three-place grid penalty ahead of the race after his incident with Felipe Massa in Singapore. So 3 places he'll drop on the grid. Then got the Toro Rosso of Carlos Sainz, past Maldonado in 12 and 13. Fernando Alonso is qualified 14th. Despite a very strong lap to get him, he muscled his way out of Q1 and then struggled in Q2 despite putting in everything in front of the home fans for the home support for Honda. Max Verstappen 15th. We'll discuss him a little bit more in a second as well, but he made it into Q2, but he had some problems in Q1, which I'll go over in a second. Jenson Button unlucky to be knocked out in 16th ahead of the two Saubers led by Marcus Ericsson. Ericsson had a moment in Q1 where he lost it at the spoon curve, but was able to get back out there. But no improvement from him or his teammate Felipe Nasser. Will Stevens out-qualified his teammate Alexander Rossi. And Rossi, he will have to go to the stewards and ask whether he can race or not, as his time was outside of the 107% qualifying time, and that was due to the fact that his effort to get out in Q1 to make a run was hampered by the yellow flags that Ericsson brought out initially, and then even the yellow flags that came out for Verstappen, who had a moment where he lost all electronics on the car, and he parked the car not exactly in the middle, but it was towards the side of the tracks, but still on the track itself. And for that, Verstappen has been handed a 3-place grid penalty for parking the car in an unsafe place, and the stewards felt that he had sufficient power or momentum, as it were, to be able to get the car off the track and into a place that wasn't in the way of anyone else. So Verstappen will drop 3 places, as well as does Hulkenberg from his penalty carrying over from Singapore. And yes, Danny Kvyat, that was a big moment in Q3. We saw Kvyat admitted that it was a rookie mistake. He just put 2 wheels on the grass and ended up spinning, and then had that spectacular flip as well. And luckily the driver was okay, which was good to see, but the car was pretty much a wreck. It literally looked like it was torn apart. The Red Bull and the team do concede that it may be a pit lane start for the young Russian, with an all-nighter set to happen over there in the Red Bull garage to get his car ready. So it'll be likely that Kvyat will start from the pit lane. So not a very good Saturday for them. But Daniel Ricciardo in 7th place as well. So that's qualifying. But for tomorrow, the race tomorrow you'll be listening to this on the Sunday anyway. We're just recording it here Saturday night. But yeah, during the race, still a possible threat of rain as well. We'll see some rain perhaps affect the race, but otherwise Rosberg on pole position. If it's a dry race, we could see Rosberg control from the front unless Lewis Hamilton gets a better start. And starts has been something that Rosberg hasn't been too good with for the past few races. So now starting on pole position, we'll be able to see what he can do from there. And he crucially needs wins now, does Rosberg. He's 41 points behind his teammate in the championship after Hamilton's retirement in Singapore. And there's one thing we should have pointed out on Wednesday's edition, actually, was the fact that Rosberg is now using his fourth power unit as well. So if anything happens to this one, the team will be forced to take on that fifth unit, and of course the penalties will apply, whereas Hamilton is still using that third one, but perhaps they are treading cautiously with it. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But the biggest surprise from qualifying, of course, was Williams, and it'll be interesting to see whether Williams are going to maintain that sort of pace during the race. It was sort of deliberated or speculated during the third practice session when it was dry that Ferrari perhaps had sacrificed qualifying speed for a race setup. So we may see Vettel, maybe the likes of Vettel and Raikkonen perhaps getting up there and getting that final podium place from the Williams and Bottas. If it is a dry race, you can expect two stops to happen with those hard and medium compound tyres. But then again, if it rains, then you can throw all of that out the window, and it'll be an interesting affair. And we've seen that in the wet, that the Red Bulls, the Toro Rossos, have been quite quick from the Friday practice running. Especially we've got Verstappen now coming through the field all the way back from 18th, as well as Sainz from he'll be 11th after Hulkenberg's penalty kicks in. And indeed with Danny Kvyat as well, Red Bull can gamble a little bit as to what setup they go if they start him from the pit lane, but it seems likely that that'll be the case, with a number of components probably needing to be changed, like gearbox and what have you. So rather than taking all those penalties and starting at the back of the grid, they might as well just start them from the pit lane. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. And from a predictions point of view, Rosberg on pole position, he needs to win. Probably he's in the best position to win a race now. First race he would have won, if he does win Japanese Grand Prix, the first race he would have won since Austria, and that's going back many months ago now. And to stay in touch with this championship as well, he'll need to get that win and get points, take more points off his teammate in Lewis Hamilton. Seeing as we concluded a little bit early without Baden's presence, might as well just go over some quick news now. And yes, a lot of chatter around this weekend involving the Red Bull Ferrari deal, as you would have seen through our articles and whatnot, that Red Bull have come out and issued a threat to quit the sport unless Ferrari give them equal power unit for next season, equal engine, and that's still being negotiated at the moment. And also the ongoing emissions crisis with the Volkswagen Group as well may be affecting a deal for the future that Red Bull may have with Audi, which is part of the Volkswagen Group. So things not looking very rosy for Red Bull at the moment, but the drivers certainly feel confident that they'll be fine for next year, but a confidence that isn't shared so much by Christian Horner, the team principal of Red Bull, who once again has to appease the CEO, the co-owner of the energy drinks giant, and Dietrich Mateschitz. As well as that, Lotus as well, they had their hospitality unit wasn't in place for this weekend, and that's due to the ongoing funds crisis that they have. And it was nice of Bernie Eccleston to allow them to get some catering from the Paddock Club. So Lotus still in a bit of limbo at the moment in terms of their finances. We know that on the 28th that they're going to be back in court with a HRMC and other creditors trying to get debt debts off them, and yeah, as well as the Renault deal as well. What is going to happen with that? I'm sure on Wednesday we'll be able to go over that, all the latest news and what have you, and also Haas as well. Haas F1 have announced that on Tuesday, the 29th of September, that yeah, it is a Tuesday. Yeah, that they're going to announce their driver lineup for next season for their first year in Formula One, and many have touted that it'll be Roman Grosjean jumping ship from Enstone, and Ferrari's reserve driver Esteban Gutierrez, who will make his Formula One return for next season. So it'll be very interesting to see. As always, we'll have it on for you on Wednesday, and hopefully by then Baden will be back, and there will be no technical difficulties in that. So yeah, it'll be an interesting race. The Japanese Grand Prix, we go into it very much with the Jules Bianchi accident last year still in our minds, but I'm sure things will go fine. Race is starting an hour forward as opposed to 3 p.m. last year. It's 2 p.m. and yeah, all we can say is everyone have a hope. Everyone has a safe race, and we see no incidents like that. So thank you for joining me. I'm Jawad as always. Apologies again for being alone on this occasion, but yes, fate and circumstance, I guess, put us in that position. But anyway, thank you for joining me, and we'll see you guys on Wednesday. Thank you.